and it's time to get started with admin and reports. Oh, we just got a bling bling noise. All right, so let me share my screen. And first things first, I should probably bring up the notes page. 1 second, let me find that.
I can go ahead and paste that into chat too, Andrew.
Thanks. We were busy talking about nonsense, and I didn't get my URL up. All right, so the link that Donna has just put into chat is to our 1905 upgrade notes. Let me pull that over here. So you probably know this already because we're well into the webinars at this point, but this upgrade note page has the full release notes and links to all of our blog posts on these subjects, and also links to all of our recorded webinars and our Q&A from those webinars. It's trailing a bit behind because it takes Kelly some time to get that all formatted to get up on the website, but keep an eye out here. Refer other folks back here if they weren't able to make it to these webinars. We've got just a few more left yet this week. But today, we're going to talk admin and reports. So let me jump over here. I know you've probably all gotten this spiel already, but upgrades will happen in December. Watch your news portion on your Koha homepage for a date there to let you know when that upgrade's going to happen. And then the day after your upgrade happens, make sure to clear your cache to make sure that Koha works properly. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is, so I'm going to go to admin. And if we dig around on the right-hand column here, way down by the bottom, there's a link here to share content with Mana KB. So when you get upgraded to 1905, as part of that upgrade, we're going to do the server-side setup that Mana requires. So your Koha system will be ready to have Mana turned on, which is going to be something you'll have to do from here. You will, right when you first come to admin after your upgrade, you'll get a message up here that tells you that your Mana is not yet set up. You can click that or come down here. Either way, you'll end up on this page. And if you want to turn Mana on, you will flip this switch to yes. Check this box if you want to. This will cause all of your serials subscriptions to automatically upload to Mana. If you leave this unchecked, you can still manually upload specific serial subscriptions. So you'll set those and save, and then you will have to get yourself a Mana token. This will be a pretty easy thing. When you come here, instead of seeing your token, you'll see a box for your name and a box for your email. Put values in, and you'll have a send to Mana box to click. Click that. In a minute or so, you should get an email from Mana with a link to click to verify your email address, and that'll do everything it needs to do. It will automatically put that token in here, and you will be good to go. Let us know if you run into any problems there, but it's pretty simple. Do bear in mind that the name and email address you enter here, that's going to be tied to everything done on Mana from your Koha install. So it's system-wide. That's going to take probably a little more thought for those of you who are in a big system, just to know that any report you save or any serial subscription you save, that's going to be tied to the name and email address you give it here. So don't make that like your personal email address. Make that something you're comfortable sharing with your whole Koha system. Once that is set up, you'll be able to download and upload both serial subscriptions and reports. I'm not going to talk about serial subscriptions here because we're going to cover that in more detail in tech services, but I am going to talk about reports because that's part of this webinar. So unless y'all have other Mana questions, Mana setup questions, I'll jump over to reports. Oh, and I didn't do my question spiel. You all are welcome to ask us through the Zoom chat. Be careful in the Zoom chat that you are sending your question to all participants. I'm going to get that terminology wrong. All panelists and attendees. If you say that to just all panelists, then Donna and I will see it and nobody else will. And that'll be a little confusing. You can also, if you prefer, use the Q&A interface to enter questions there. And that way everybody will see those. But either way, Donna's going to keep an eye on them and she'll yell at me and I'll stop and answer them. All right, with that, let me jump over to reports. And the first thing I want to talk about here is how to get a report from Mana. There is not yet a link here to create from Mana. I know Kelly filed a bug asking for that link to be added, just to kind of make things a little tidier. But as we are right now, I need to go into the saved reports. And from here, my new report button has a new feature, new option, new SQL from Mana. This asks me for a keyword to search those Mana reports. I don't know. Patron. This keyword search is searching report name and report notes and also the text, the full SQL report. So this would be anything that says patron in any of those places. Gives me a pretty big list here. And as I go through them, I've got name and notes to kind of tell me what's what. I can also, if I mouse over any of these, it does give me the actual query. That's a little hard to read. I mean, obviously, it's a lot of SQL squished into a little box. I don't know, let's just pick something that looks good. I don't want counts, I want a list. Give me expired patrons. So when I find the one I want, I hit import, and then I'll think about that for a second, and ta-da! This report is now saved on my system, ready to run. However, and I know we've brought this up in a couple previous webinars, as you look through here, you'll notice that there are some spacing problems in here, particularly places where, like right here, it has run two words together, where one of those is actually like an important SQL word, where it's not my statement. That's going to mess this report up. Let's see, George says, the notes come from the notes that are saved in the report on the originating system. Yes, that is correct. So if here I'm going to click edit on this because I need to fix the spacing here. Yeah, the notes in the search for reports, that's this box here. So it's whatever you've labeled it as in your system. When it goes to Mana, that's the text that'll carry over there. Mentioned he wished it would load straight into edit. What? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that is, somebody had asked, I wish it loaded on, it took you straight into the edit screen, which I think we all feel would be a good idea. But just like with a Koha, the Mana thing is going to be asking for bugs and things like that. So this, again, is another opportunity to get involved and file bugs for that. We do have the notes in our webinar summaries on where to go to file bugs for this sort of thing. Yep. And then Marty also asks, does this preserve the line breaks we put in, or does it automatically throw everything into one continuous line?
It looks like it's dropping line breaks, and that's what's causing us problems here. But it's doing some other weird formatting stuff too, so I'm not entirely sure. But I know that we've got a bug already filed for this, that it's something that the community is going to be sorting out, because it needs a little work.
And one of the things that I'm wondering about is that I know this first load of reports and things were done through an export tool, and I'm wondering if that may have played a role into this. Whereas when we start sharing those reports one by one, maybe it'll stop behaving badly. We'll find out.
Maybe. Ultimately, in sort of live Koha, reports are all going to get saved, are all going to get sent to Mana individually If I'm in my Koha system, I can say, I like this report, send it to Mana. Right now, as we're getting stuff set up, the folks who wrote Mana, which are BibLib, a company over in France, they wrote a script to bulk export reports. We grabbed all the reports from a few of our partners and sent those over. So yeah, that could be introducing weird formatting that we won't see ultimately. Marty asks, did we get a contact person for helping moderate/curate reports? I know the ones from Huntsville-Madison County Public Library are messy. Not yet. And that is a thing that BibLib and the Koha community are working at, or trying to figure out what the best infrastructure there is for a sort of reports curator position. So if that's something any of y'all are interested in, they are absolutely looking for volunteers to help with that. Coming back over here, just as you're bringing reports from Mana in and looking to clean them up, do remember that code mirror formatting that came into Koha in 1811. That'll be helpful here because it is going to try to color code stuff. Like, I know the word from, if the formatting were correct, would be purple, just like select and where. So it's kind of letting me know I need to do something here, which is just going to be a space. I could get fancier, I suppose, and put in line breaks. Try to make it a little more clear. Same thing here with left join. Looks like there is a space there, but we'll put in a line break just to be tidy. All right, that should be happy. Let's save that. Run now. Oh, nope, I missed something. Oh, yep, right there. So, easy enough to grab a report from Mana, a little bit of fiddling right now still to get that to run correctly. It should be pretty easy to read through there and just double check all the spacing. Do feel free to open a ticket if you import something and you just can't get it to work. And as discussed, ultimately we'll have some more work being done in the community to help curate those reports so that everything that is there works and works well and is sort of easily transferable from one library to the other. Just because I know we all have a ton of reports that are so hyper-specific to how our collections are set up that they're not going to easily move between libraries. It is not at all required that you use Mana. Janice asked, and I've forgotten what library you're from. I'm trying to place a name. Anyway, no, not required at all. Set it up and use it if it seems helpful to you. Ignore it completely if you would rather not. Totally your choice. If you don't want to use it on that site back on the admin page where I said, yes, use Mana, just leave that set to no, and it'll be fine. I want to look at how we would send a report to Mana. It's not giving me that option from here, I believe because this one keeps. But if we go to our list of reports, these that I like, I forget again which screen I do this from. Yeah, from here. It's in my Actions button, Share, and that will send it to Mana. Gives me one last look at this before I send it off. I wanted to edit that. I'm going to cancel right now because I don't want to send more stuff there. Excuse me.
So Christopher wants to know if Share is hidden if Mana is not set up. I haven't looked.
Probably. Let's turn it off and see.
And yes, Marty, if you edit a report after you save it, you would have to resubmit it. It's not going to be interactive. It's just going to take that one set of data that you send. So you would need to update it after you've edited it.
Okay, switch Mana off and then go back to reports. Yeah, share has disappeared when I turned Mana off. Then Marty asked, would it overwrite the report in Mana if I downloaded something from Mana, edited it, and then shared it again? Would it? Or I suppose if I had my report that I wrote locally, shared, edited locally, and reshared, I believe that would be a new report. All right, so with Mana turned off, share button, turn it back on. Yeah, and that's why ultimately I don't see any way Mana can work without having some active human curation there. There's just sort of enough fiddliness to it that it's hard to imagine a computer just managing that all on its own. Oh, and while I'm on this page, I should mention, just because it was a thing that gave me pause, these also exist as system preferences, and interacting with them either place. I don't want to auto share subscriptions, thank you. You could change these here, share content with Mana page, or if I go into my system preferences and search for Mana, these three, auto share with Mana, Mana, and Mana token, those are exactly the same thing as I saw on that previous page. So do them through the system preferences or through their data page. It's the same thing. Okay, now I could talk about Mana a lot because I think it's really interesting and exciting, but we've got other stuff to talk about. And my next thing is gonna be, come to the reports page and come to my built-in items lost report. And we have a small change here. Sure, give me all of my lost things. And it is just that we have added a column for collection code here. So if you use this canned report to grab the lost, it's going to give you a collection now, which will be helpful. Next up, speaking of that code mirror view, I have a change to, if I run a report, I shouldn't have picked one with a date range. Oh well. If I run a report and I tell it I want to show SQL code, this is a nice enhancement. It gives me that SQL in that nice code mirror view. Previously, this always gave you like a really scrunched up, hard to read version of the report. So I'm excited to see this give you a much more readable version. I did notice on Chrome, this thing doesn't resize. It makes a box and then it won't get smaller on you. It works in Firefox, and I filed a bug asking for this to get fixed in Chrome. Oh well. The joys of supporting multiple browsers. But yeah, I love this a lot. I'm always happy to see something get a little more readable. And then our last reports thing is a drum we have been beating very repeatedly. And this is our change to account lines and account type. You've probably all heard this spiel a couple times already, so I'll try to make it quick. This is not especially a reports thing, except reports are the way you're going to interact with the data that has changed. So in account lines, so your fines and fees data, previously we had been saving all fines data flagged with an account type value of F for a regular fine, FU for an updating fine, or F4 for a forgiven fine. Koha is making a change to how that data is stored so that those distinctions will not be made in type, they will be made in status. So let me grab this and run this report. Whereas previously we had account type, F, FU, and F4. Now all of those fines, and this is a change that's going to be pushed back through all your data, they're all going to change to account type overdue, with a status of forgiven, returned, or unreturned. What this is going to mean from a reports perspective is any report you already had in your system that was looking specifically for FFU or F4 fines is going to need to get tweaked to continue to give you good results. If I back up here, and I have a couple example reports that I can't type. This month's fines. So this report says, give me everything of account type F or account type FU in the last month. And if I run it on my 1905 system, it comes back null because we no longer have anything in our system, account type F or account type FU, because those have all been changed. So they are now account type overdue. So this is a simple fix. If I come back here, so quick edit to that same report gives me where account type is overdue, and I included the status column. So easy changes here. We've been doing some reporting on our end to figure out which of our partners have reports that use these values that will need to get changed, and the support folks have been reaching out and will continue to reach out to all those partners and kind of try to proactively help you fix those reports. If you get upgraded and you have some reports that are not working and you need a hand with and we have not reached out to you yet, just open a ticket. They should be quick, easy fixes. It's just going to take a little legwork on those. Okay, from here, I'm moving into admin proper, which is really going to mean I'm going to bounce all around Koha because this is a real catch-all webinar. It's a bunch of system preferences and things that change behaviors or displays kind of all around Koha. So first, I'm going to go to patrons. Let me just grab somebody. Good old Nick Adams. So first thing here, bug 11375, improve patron permissions display. I like this one. I'm excited about this one. It is a just cosmetic change to this patron permissions page to put things into a table, give them a little like coloration between lines to make those a little easier. On all of these, well, first off, I have a button here to show all, automatically expands all those permissions. Again, maintaining some contrast and color tables to make them a little easier. I can open and close individual ones. And then the really exciting bit, a filter box. So this is just filtering word my options here. So like if I wanted to figure out, no, where's the permission for whether or not I get to edit items? Well, I can put item in here and then scroll on down through. Oh, edit items. Exciting. Yeah, I'm happy about this one. This screen has been a really difficult thing to just read through, and this makes a big difference for just visual parsability of this page. Speaking of patrons, I've got a couple changes next to patron category setup. Specifically, permissions for whether or not your patrons get to change and reset their passwords from the OPAC. So if I go to System Preferences, I've got two existing password-related options here, OPAC password change, OPAC password reset, which ask respectively, can my patrons change their password from the OPAC? Can they reset their password from the OPAC? These two system preferences already existed, and they say across the board, all patrons, can they do these things? Mostly these are both turned on for public libraries. and both turned off for school libraries or special libraries, anybody who's using some sort of LDAP or authentication. Because if your patrons aren't logging in with their Koha credentials, you don't want to let them change and reset their password because that gets confusing. This new change allows us to determine that behavior actually at the patron category level. So if I come into my patron categories and edit one of them, I've got a couple new options here: OPAC password reset in OPAC, password change in OPAC. And these basically ask, am I going to follow the system preference, or does this category do something else? So this will let you, if you are a library that uses some sort of authentication for most of your patrons, which means for most of your patrons you don't want them to change or reset their password, you can let certain patron categories have different behavior. So maybe you're an academic library and none of your students or faculty get to reset their password, but your community borrowers, because they don't actually interact with the school part of it, of authentication, they get to change and reset their passwords. And Christopher says, I assume pre-existing categories default to follow the system preference, and yes, that's true. Anything you've already got set up at upgrade, they will be set to follow system preference. And then you can come in and change them if you want to, but otherwise they'll just continue to follow your existing system preference. These are two separate enhancements, one for password change and one for forgotten password. And the forgotten password part of it, the password reset, that enhancement was funded by our friends at Virginia Tech Public Library. I almost said public library, at the Virginia Tech Libraries. So thank you to them. Next up is some kind of deep system preference malarkey, but I'm excited about it. Maybe you will all be excited about it. I have to remember what it's called. OPAC, more searches. It's a very exciting system preference. This is add additional elements to the more searches bar on the OPAC. The more searches bar is this bar. That is often a place people want us to put links because it's a very top level obvious bar. Previous to 1905, anything you wanted to add here had to be added via jQuery, and it was just kind of more work than adding links elsewhere on your page. So 1905 has made this into one of those easy HTML options. I don't know HTML well enough to add something here. But if we added another link, it would just show up right in line with Tag Cloud. So yeah, making things much, much easier to customize.
You've got folks excited about this one, Andrew.
Drop-down menus supported. I would assume drop-down menus are supported. If you can HTML code a drop-down menu, it'll go there. I mean, functionally, this is just the same as the system preference we have to add content over here. So yeah, play around with it. It should work. Ask us if you want a hand with it. And so other than me and other than Donna, we'll help you with your HTML. But yeah, that should be doable. And then next up, we've got a few more OPAC-related changes. And this is a set of 3 system preferences that all relate to GDPR. So 1811 added some GDPR functionality. Actually, let's change my search here. (1811) added GDPR policy that let us say, if we switch this to enforced, whenever a patron comes to the OPAC for the first time, as soon as they log in, they'll be taken to a page that asks, do you consent to having your information saved and stored on this site? This is required by the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. See, I remembered that the acronym is spelled out in the system preference. So if you've got this turned on, it asks patrons to consent to having their data collected and stored. If they do not consent, they are locked out of the OPAC. They cannot log in. As of 1811, that was sort of all it did. You got locked out, and then your account just sat there locked out. 1905 is adding some more steps to that, where you can say, okay, once my patrons get locked out, after so many days, I shouldn't, let me back up, rephrase that. Once they have said no, once they have refused their consent, they will get administratively locked in Koha as a whole after so many days. And then moving on, after they've been locked, so many days after the lock, Koha will anonymize their accounts. It takes all their name and contact information, all of that, just replaces it with randomly generated gobbledygook. And then at the next interval, so we'll say 4 days after they got locked, Koha will fully delete their account. So if you want Koha to take any patrons who have declined your GDPR permissions, if you want Koha to automatically lock, anonymize, and or delete those patrons, you can set those day counts here, and Koha will handle those things automatically. George says he asked first webinar about unsubscribe delays. If a patron submits an unsubscribe request and they have items checked out and have fines or fees, does this anonymize and delete the patrons? And I know that is on our list of stuff to test, and I don't know that we have done so yet. But yeah, we will do that, and we will get that up on the Q&A page. It just takes a little bit more poking and prodding to test. These actions, the locking, anonymizing, and deleting, those all happen on the cleanup database cron job. So for you all, I thought Christopher was saying he works on the cleanup database's cron job. I didn't know what that meant, but no, he looks forward to an answer.
Yeah, I don't see that we've tested that yet, but it is definitely on our list of to-dos. So we will get that done, hopefully this week.
All right. So I don't know how many of y'all are using GDPR. It is absolutely something that was written and added to Koha for our libraries in the EU because it is legally required for them. If y'all are using it, I'm excited or interested to see what libraries will do with it here. I like this next step of sort of adding some automatic patron cleanup to the whole thing. Okay, some more fun system preference stuff. I'm going to look up. Let's try OPAC hidden items. And yes, I don't want to save anything. Thank you. Okay, next up we have bug 21502. This is actually, so that code mirror formatting that I was just talking about over on reports, this has been added to all of our YAML formatted system preferences. Christopher asked, if a patron is locked and you unlock their account, do they have to accept the agreement again? Yes. They have still not, they have, pardon me, if their account was locked, because they refused consent to have their information saved. If you unlock their account, they have still not given that consent, so the next time they go to the OPAC, they're going to get asked for it again. And if they say no again, ultimately, they'll just get locked again. really truly, and this is the intent here, for them to function as a normal library patron, they need to accept that. And Christopher asks, unlocking is done by changing the password, if I recall. If you just change the password not being locked, do they have to agree again? No, that gets saved in a separate place. So there's a table in Koha that saves yes or no for their privacy consent. And that gets saved independent of password changes. Okay, OPAC hidden items. So this is one of several system preferences that asks for a YAML formatted input. So I don't know if you've played with OPAC hidden items, but this is where it asks us to say for the field in the item record, hide everything that has this value. I think that it wants to be in quotes now that I'm typing it. There's a handy link to the wiki. So as you can see, no, it does not want quotes. YAML formatting is kind of fussy. It wants your colon space, then in brackets, and book, ILL, and bracket. So helpfully, blah, blah, blah. First off, CodeMirror is now, just like with reports, it's looking at this and give me some color coding. So it knows, it makes this blue to let me know, yep, I've noticed you've got your colon there, this one's all good. Not blue down here because I don't have a colon in yet, so it's not happy. It will also, I open up a quotation mark and don't close it, everything stays red to let me know that there's a problem there. I mean, it's going to be mad because that's not a valid option there. Yeah, the color differences are not super clear. The text isn't huge, and blue versus black. It's helpful. It doesn't do everything for you. But here's some exciting news. I'm going to save that. Here's the other email-related thing that got added here. If I go, I'm going to leave that up and jump to About Koha. System information. We also now get a message here that lets us know if Koha has found any broken YAML in those system preferences. So it wants me to know that I've got problems in OPAC hidden item and mark item fields to order. Yeah, this is very nice. Having spent some amount of time chasing down broken YAML formatting across system preferences, very handy to have Koha just come out and tell you, oh, this one's broken. I'm just going to delete all. And also, it told me there was something wrong with my mark item fields.
If someone would like to know, what does YAML mean?
YAML is, see, yep, I put this in wrong on purpose. It's mad because I have a dash rather than a colon. YAML is an acronym or a backronym, who you ask. And some people say it means yet another markup language. Some people, it means YAML ain't no markup language. I think, anyway, it's a specific syntax, a specific markup language. I believe Koha uses YAML in a very limited fashion. That YAML can do a lot more, but it's just that the syntax that you see in system preferences like this, that field colon space value. Oh, it's happy. Actually, I'm going to leave that wrong for future webinars. And then relatedly, I've got a couple other things I want to look at. Yes, please. That same code mirror interface has also been added to all of the user JS and user CSS system preferences. So this is specifically OPAC user JS. You will see this same thing on OPAC user CSS, intranet user JS, intranet user CSS. I believe there are similar system preferences for the self-check. Any place where Koha is letting you input JavaScript and CSS to be applied to your sites, those interfaces are now going to be color-coded with that code mirror formatting, which will be nice here too for things like, I can see that this is orange wherever it's a comment. George says, code mirror makes the data in the input boxes non-searchable with the browser search function. So if I do like Control F, that worked for me. Could be because my cursor was already in there. You can only search the data that's on the screen. Oh, that's not great. So like I know when the word Wednesday is down in there somewhere. Yeah, I see what you mean, George, and that's a trade-off. I really like the color-coded formatting here that makes this way easier. But yeah, it's kind of a downside. He says, so if you're trying to search for something on line 500, you can't search it. Well, drat. You could make this bigger. 500 would be a lot. You could copy paste all of this over into something else and Control F in it there. I wonder if that is fixable or if that's a hard and fast limitation of code mirror. Because yeah, that's a real, I don't have a good answer for you. That's a trade-off. And George says he was going to write a bug for it. That seems like a good idea because yeah, absolutely one likes to be able to Control F within these, because these system preferences get long. That's part of why it's helpful to have them in code mirror. Humph. That's what I say about that.
And Andrew, a question that came back is, what about system preferences where you can put HTML in? Does that also work with the code mirror, or is it just for the JS and the CSS right now?
I believe it is just the JS and the CSS so far. The bug that enhancement came out of was 21582, which just says use code mirror for user JS and user CSS. So let's see if we go to one of those HTML system preferences. Oh, it is code mirrored.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, and again, that makes the HTML easier to parse. George says there is a code mirror search function that could be added. So hopefully, yeah, if you file a bug for that, hopefully that gets added and we get the best of both worlds there. Now see, when I was on that more searches system preference, now that's also HTML, but it is not code mirrory. So some, but not all of the HTML system preferences. The next thing in my notes is something I cannot show you at all. And this is related to the long overdue cron job. I guess I can show you this, and it won't entirely work. New in 1905, we now have the ability in that long overdue cron job to specify behavior by item type. So this is the cron job where we say when something reaches 30 days overdue, mark it as long overdue lost and charge the patron. Previously, we could make that behavior differ by library and by borrower category. We can now also differ by item type. So we could say, for books, set them to long overdue lost at 1 month overdue, but for DVDs, set them to long overdue lost at 2 weeks overdue, or whatever distinction you'd want to make there. That is not something you can set up here. We have these system preferences that let you define your long overdue lost behavior, but they really only work for the simplest implementation of that, where all items, all borrowers are all following the same behavior. If you want to set up something more complicated to make that differ by item type or patron category, that's something we need to set up for you in your cron job setup. So open a ticket for that. We'll be happy to do it, but not something you can just set up here. Then I have a few things about notices. The first one is really only going to be of interest to folks who have a test server, and that is, oh, I've forgotten what it's called again. There we go, send all emails to. This is a new system preference that lets you put in an email address, and as long as this email address is here, every single notice that Koha makes for anybody for any reason gets sent to this address instead of the patron's normal email address. So, not very helpful for an actual live library, but very helpful for us in setting up new partners, and helpful to any of you all who are running test sites and want to actually generate and see your notices. You can use this to say, don't actually send notices, fake emails from my test site to any of my actual patrons, send them all to this address, and then you can see those, see how they come across, but not actually send them out to people. Speaking of notices, I have another new cron job thing that I really can't show you, but this is a new ability to generate and send custom notices based on a report. So if you had previously used the patron emailer plugin that Bywater wrote, this does the same thing, but is built in as a cron job rather than as a plugin. So what this does is it takes a report and a notice and brings them together as a mail merge, basically, sends a form email. So if I go to reports, oh, what was that report called? Patrons who owe a lot of money. See, that should have been memorable. I wrote this report that lists all patrons who owe $50. And I wrote this notice big fine that says, dear so-and-so, you owe this much money, give us our money. So the cron job, we set that up to run and grab the results of this report, and using those column headers, fill out this notice. It's a pretty simple interface. And again, the patron emailer plugin could do this, but now that it's set up as a report or as a cron job, we can save that report and save that notice. We don't need to keep re-entering them. And we can schedule it to happen repeatedly or happen at a specific time. So a ton more usage for, or ability for automation here. So for something like this, where we're saying email everybody who owes us more than $50, you can see maybe that sends every month, first of the month, automatically these all go out. Or if you had a report listing people who are gonna go to a collections agency, you could write a monthly report for that that would automatically email everybody and say, you're going to be sent to collections for these fines. And I suppose if I thought a long time, I could come up with some examples that weren't about patrons being bad and owing money. But that's just not how it works in my brain. Happy birthday messages. Yes, we could send all of our patrons emails on their birthday. Well, see, George is a kind-hearted man, not full of weird, misplaced aggression at his patrons. And that's why I don't work a public desk anymore. Advanced notices. My next thing is about advanced notices. Send separate digest message per branch. I don't know George very well, only in passing, where he's putting on a genial face, I guess. This is a change to our pre-due message. So this is the advanced notice of item due. This is a change that will be nice for multi-branch libraries. It's allowing us to set these up so that if I've got one patron, yeah, I'm pushing on. I'm ignoring the conversation about notices because we're going to run out of time. If I've got one patron who has items checked out from multiple branches, previously they got one pre-due digest that listed all of their items that were coming up due soon all together. This is a change to allow that digest to be split up by branch based on where those items were checked out from. So if I've got 2 items from the East branch and 2 items from the West branch, I will get an East branch digest message that says your 2 East branch items are going to be due. And then I'll get also a West branch digest message that says your 2 West branch items are going to be due. So for multi-branch systems where your patrons are moving between libraries, this will be a nice point of clarification to let them know where their things are actually, where their items need to go back to. That bug was for the pre-due digest notices. That was bug 20478. I don't know what a pride notice is. Sounds exciting. Next up is, this is an interesting new system preference that, as we look at it here, it's really promising. It's actually pretty narrow in its implementation. Send messages by SMS if no patron email is defined. This only applies to suggestion emails. So if I've put in a purchase suggestion and Koha tries to generate a notice to me to tell me that that purchase suggestion was accepted or declined or ordered or what have you, if we turn on this new system preference and that patron does not have an email address, Koha will send an SMS notice instead. The system preference really looks like it should apply more broadly, but it is only for those suggestion notices, which is nice. Hopefully this is a prelude to that sort of thing getting pushed further out into Koha. Yeah, this system preference needs rewording, and I've got that bug on my to-do list for today. Because yes, I got here and I thought, wow, that's cool. It just turned on SMS notices for everything. But no, it's only for purchase suggestion notices. Next up, I've got 2 new additions that I'm going to talk about very, very briefly because I don't fully understand what they mean. These are 2 changes to SIP processing that were sponsored by the Pueblo City County Library District. Bug 22014, add ability to send 00 in SIP CV field on check-in success. And bug 22016, always send CT field for SIP check-in, even if empty. Y'all, I know very little about SIP. I can't help you here. If you use SIP and you think these sound exciting, talk to us, and we'll let you know if they mean anything to you. They mean nothing to me, nothing at all. I'm glad that Pueblo has sponsored these, and they will make things work better for Pueblo. Someday I'll learn how SIP works. And then retreating quickly to higher ground. SIP is cool, but complicated. I've not played with it. Got some changes to item search. Specifically down here, we now have a separate filter for lost. These used to be folded into status. Now they're their own little box. So if you want to use your item search to find everything that's missing, or to filter more specifically missing within a collection code or something. So just nice little more functionality there. And then we are bumping up against time here. So I'm going to try to go quickly. I've been long-winded. New option. This isn't even an option, I'm sorry. Change to Koha that has blocked autocomplete for patron searches. So if I am here and I'm typing in a name, if I have my browser autocomplete turned on, the browser autocomplete will ignore this space, so you're not accidentally auto-completing patron names in error. That's exciting. Also about patrons, see, I should have given this more time because it's pretty cool. If I go to my log viewer and I search patron modify, modify. Well, let's limit this so it doesn't take so long to come back. Autocomplete off is it's a good change, solid change. Do y'all notice anything exciting here? My patron modification log actually tells me what got modified now. This is so cool. For a very long time, all this would tell you was, yeah, something got changed, and now it tells you specifically what got changed. Amelia's username used to be Amelia.Bedelia, and it is now just Amelia. Donna changed it at 8/21. Super good. Like a lot of really nice accountability here.
Yeah, we've got a lot of folks that are very excited about this. I am too, personally, from when we're trying to track things down and figure stuff out. This is going to make problem solving a whole lot easier.
Yeah, God's easier.
So Marty wants to know if this is going to be standard across all logs.
Well, I mean, that might be a longer term goal. I know logs could use a lot of work as far as standardization. And yeah, I can't make you any promises. File bugs, agitate for bugs, push for the change you want. Because yeah, it is absolutely an area where work could be done. Okay, two more really quick things. First, plugins. Does this show in the Patron modification tab? Yes, Christopher. If I'm in a Patron and I go to modifications, that's showing me this log data. And yes, will also show me specifically who changed what when. Here in my plugins, you notice how they all now have this big blue box that says enabled? That's because 1905 has added the ability to disable a specific plugin without uninstalling it, without deleting all of your setup for that plugin. You can just say, this one for right now, turn it off. Saves all your setup. As soon as I flip this back on, it's ready to go again. Hasn't deleted anything at all. Yeah, just an easy little pause button on those. And then my very last admin thing, I come back here and go to authorized values. Have a nice usability change to the interface here. that has given me my authorized value page with, amazingly enough, descriptions of what each authorized value is. So now you can actually look and see, where does department get used? What is this ETAT? Which I always suspected was French, and now I know for sure. So nice handy change here. Once I'm in one of these, and then I'm back to this interface, but I can always back up. George asked, there's no way at present to add or edit those descriptions, right? And yes, that is correct right now. Right. These are hard-coded and there is not a way to change those. Yeah, I imagine. I have not seen a bug specifically asking for that ability, but that's a logical next step. All right, I have yammered all the way to 11 o'clock. I don't have anywhere I need to run off to. Y'all might, but do you all have any questions?
So while we have folks typing in their last questions, Andrew, I am curious, if I create a new authorized value, I do get to just add that or edit that description, correct?
No. Yeah, there are only descriptions for the hard-coded authorized values.
Well, as we say with a lot of things, it's the first step, and we'll keep building on it, and it'll get better. Ripped off again.
I could tell I was stopping herself from saying basically that. See it in her face.
So I think overall, though, we are definitely continuing to make things a little bit better and see those displays and not have to decipher so much. So I am very excited about that. I know one of the things that I'm very excited about is the permissions on the patron pages. That change has made it so much easier to try and figure out what exactly where those different sections are that people need permissions for and stuff like that. So I'm excited about that one.
Okay.
So Christopher wants to know when Koha is going to make patrons nicer.
I think we need an API on the patron end. Someone needs to code that into our patrons to allow Koha to interface with the brains.
And then does the search bar in the authorized values table search the descriptions?
That's a good question. I think so. Yes. It does.
Okay.
It's one of those, I always expect a search bar like that to search descriptions. And yes.
All right. Well, we have another webinar this afternoon. I think it's at 3 o'clock Eastern. Double check me, but it's on.
It's correct.
The second session of circulation and patrons, or whatever we're calling that one, that I will be leading. Lots of exciting things if you haven't been to that yet. And then otherwise we have webinars again Wednesday and Thursday, and we will be all wrapped up. So thank you for everything, Andrew. Thank you so much.
Thanks, folks. Thank you, Donna. And thank you all for coming. Goodbye.